Did
Don't
you
you
hear
love it?
that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight. I'm Jules Quover, and today Maxine Taylor is back. She is America's first licensed astrologer, and we had a couple of interviews, and I'm very happy that she is back. Her website is maxinetaylor.com, where she will also send you your birth chart if you haven't got it. So, Maxine, welcome back, you busy bee.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to modify my invitation because I cannot send out a birth chart to everybody. Um, I had thousands of requests.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but
And,
but but you can also do it online yourself.
oh, well, of course, it's all the information's on my website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Maxine, before we jump into the subject at hand, which is hidden programming and how to see it in our birth charts, when we talked in 2019, you were really bang on with your predictions about the energies that are coming in and so on and so forth. So, would you agree that we will see a little bit of relaxation after 2027, that the energies stay crazy?
Well, I am not, I have not looked that far ahead because I've been so busy with clients and writing books. Also, we, as you know, live in third dimensional reality, which means we have opposites. So when we say good, bad, up, down, boy, girl, day, night, that's how it goes here. So we'll have some progress made, of course. I think it's going to happen for the United States. And remember, we had 4 years of a very different type of presidency. Um, and we are, moving forward from that. But I'm looking at, in the United States, the Pluto return, which completes in 2024. Um, and I use the Gemini rising chart because it works for me. You probably know there are many United States horoscopes, and every astrologer thinks theirs works. And it's true. They all do because they're speaking to the astrologer. So in 2024, Pluto, we have a Pluto return. Now it's already started. And that's why there's so much upheaval here in the United States. Every country has their own version of what's going on. And for many countries, we do not have their birth chart.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for the United States. And Judith, let me tell you, I have quit watching the news because it's too upsetting.
I don't blame you. I don't even have a TV.
You don't?
No, for many years, I don't.
Well,
There's
come on.
nothing that I want to see. Absolutely nothing.
Mhm. It's so you're really ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the only one. I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a TV.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, what's on TV is just what it on the news is what the reporters are fed.
Yeah, sure.
They go to the wire and that's why you of course are without a TV. Kudos to you. But every talking head is saying the same thing if they're an anchor. So they bring on guests who have differing opinions. Swell. It's everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah. Okay. So
About what?
so
I
then
hope.
let's continue to it's fresh out of the press, yeah?
Yes. And as I mentioned to you before we went on air, It is the typos are still being corrected. And so what happened was people started buying the book like crazy. And I was thrilled. Oh my, I mean, you know, when you write a book, you're
Yeah, sure.
thrilled that it sells.
Like your baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so my friends were very sweet. They thought they would save my feelings by not telling me about the typos in the book that were made during the processing of the book. In my version, there were no typos. When I received the proof, all 6 proofs, there were typos, and I was beside myself, which of course is why it took me a while to contact you and thank you for being so gracious and inviting me for so many times to be back on your show. Um, and so anyhow, this is it for now. for now.
Okay, so how did you stumble on the idea that we have hidden messages of parental programming in our birth chart? What started that line of thought?
Well, what started it was just observing the world and see and through self help, you know, the self help movement has really taken over. People are aware of the fact that it's perfectly okay to have issues. And as I spent, you know, over 50 years as an astrologer, I noticed patterns in the chart, in our birth charts. And I knew the sun was daddy and the moon was mommy. And then it went from there. But when when I realized that they were just Judith sitting there, sticking out like a sore thumb, I got so excited about it. And I had at that point been really looking at my own programming. And as an astrologer, and I felt like I had a certain responsibility as a standard bearer for being the first licensed astrologer, you know, I felt not just a fascination, but a certain amount of obligation to share this information. And the more I got into it, the more exciting it was, because that's the first step. You can't change unless you know what you have to change. And most people I know had huge issues as children. Well, of course, I'm an astrologer. I attract that to me. And so I wanted to find out where it was in the chart, and it was perfectly clear to me. You might have heard me several years back. You might have heard a scream of joy coming from the United States. That was me, because I thought, now I understand. And my specialty is programming, and I'm very good at dumbing it down for my little mind, simplifying it so that everybody can get it. And that's probably why, and of course, people are indoors now studying more astrology. So I think this is why the book started selling like hotcakes. And then I found out about the typos, and you know the rest. So
Yeah. So would you say it has to do with where sun and moon are positioned in your birth?
It's more than just sun and moon.
It's more than
and it's more than just positioning. Although, to me, the house position of a planet is like 50% of the interpretation, because that's where the action of the planet is taking place. So, sun, of course, the the luminaries, sun, daddy, moon, mommy. And when we study our sun sign, we study it from the egocentric standpoint of that's me. Mwah, mwah, mwah. But it's daddy's message. Moon is mommy's message about where to look for your emotional security, because the moon deals with emotional security or lack thereof. I also give a lot of weight to the aspect of the sign that it's in, of course, tells how it's going to express. And so when I describe the sun and the moon, I describe it as, this is what your father's like, this is what your mother's like, but the aspects are very, I mean, obviously, you know this, you're a great student of astrology for a long time. If the sun and the moon, for example, are square each other, at the time of your birth, mommy and daddy were not playing well with each other. And that is your programming. And your relationships follow that program. And a lot of people say, well, am I fated? Am I destined to have difficult relationships for the rest of my life? For most people I have seen who are not aware that they can change their programming, the answer is yes. Now, the sun and the moon, of course, move in the birth chart. Nevertheless, the birth chart stands. So I've come up with a method I use that I learned many years ago to release our programming. But you have to want to do it. You have to want to release the programming. Otherwise, the neural pathway is there. Yeah. It's been there since you were born. Which is why this is step one. What is your programming? And step two is, how do you release it? And that's my next book. Although, let me just, years ago, I wrote Move Into the Magic. And this is my Take Back Your Life technique, as it was back in, I think, 2011. However, I've added and changed my technique. I've changed the categories as I've seen that I really had to go deeper. And so this is for non-astrologers, because astrologers, we're in our heads. We got to get into our heart, everybody. Yeah, and sure. It's from the heart that we change. Yeah. Easy to say.
I know.
I mean, I'm preaching to the choir when I speak with you, because I know that you have been an avid student of astrology for many, many years, and you understand what I'm saying. Some of our audience might be going, huh, what does that mean?
So, but I would guess that, okay, parents, okay, that is one of the very first imprints. Of course, they are important. But I would say it doesn't stop there. Then come the teachers, the grandparents, even before the teachers. It doesn't matter in what category. So, and we have media, we have politics, we have movies and music. So I would say there is nonstop programming available.
It is, but the original messages are the ones banging the drum, so to speak.
Okay.
And what we do, we're programmed, and then we go out there and we see the world through the eyes of our programming. So of course it's over and over and over and over again, over and over and over, until perhaps we make up our mind to stop it. And that is where the enlightenment and awakening comes in, because the mind, which is kissing cousins to the ego, Mercury and the sun, of course, conscious mind, and the moon, the subconscious mind, really want to keep you back. They're used to having control. And it's easy to say, oh, I want to let go of my programming. And when you're ready, you see it everywhere. So once you take that first breath, which is why the accuracy of the birth time is vitally important, as you know. Yeah. I keep thinking everything I'm saying, you already know this, because it's going to determine It's going to reflect your movie for this incarnation. It's not your soul, it's your story. And the mind and of course Pluto, the planet of control, says, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And the ego insists that it's right. And it is if you're coming from your head. It's right. He's terrible. She's awful. And you can justify it because you keep seeing the same thing everywhere you go. Go to a cocktail party. There's your mommy disguised as your boss. There's your daddy described as some, drunk lady off in the corner just chugging it down. It's the same story, different places, different people playing the roles, and our life is a movie. And you are the star, the hero, the villain. You're the writer, you're the producer, you're everything. And so it's on overwhelm. You can be on overwhelm, and all you got to do is say, I got to change this. I'm tired of being alone. So many people come to astrologers because what they want is love. Their programming will not allow them to have love. And I could do 20 minutes on that. And that's what we want. But the problem is we're looking to somebody out there to tell us we're lovable. And our programming from mommy or grandmommy says, no, not only are you not lovable, I hate you. Go sit in the corner, don't make a sound. And this book that I'm writing, the stories are incredibly heart-wrenching.
So that reminds me very much of an interview that I recently did with Jason Christoph. He is a Canadian, and he is into health and fitness, but he also has another layer to his message. And he talked about that we self-sabotage our actions and our life because we cannot get rid of our programming. And in that sense, that interview with you now fits perfectly into that. And I would like to know, how do we recognize that we have issues and programmings going on?
That's a fabulous question. At some point, you have a wake-up call. At some point, you see the same pattern over and over again. And you may see yourself saying, oh, she's going to do such and such. And then sure enough, she does it. And you say, wait a minute, did I make that happen? Or you've just had it up to here. You've had it up to here with your family, with your lack of money, with your health. If you're happy, you're healthy. If you're not happy, your chart will illustrate the areas of your body that will give you a problem. It's an awareness that the same thing is repeating again and again. Now, I call that an awakening. But then you say, well, what do I do? The programming is on such a deep level. Sometimes you need help with a therapist, a counselor, and that's great. And what you're doing is telling your story over and over again to somebody who is listening and telling you, I commiserate with you. That's great, but it doesn't change your story. You have to keep going. And which is why I know you've invited me to be your guest on several occasions, because the astrology that I do says you are fabulous. Deal with it. And it's not in your birth chart. It's who you really, really are. And so, of course, how do I change it? What do I do? And there are so many methods out there, and mine is one of them. And I discovered it through study and studying with groups of people. And you know the rest. But when you realize, like in the movie with Bill Murray, Groundhog Day,
Yeah.
we're repeating the same story every day, and he realized he could change it, that a mistake is not permanent. There's a blessing in it. And once you realize that you are the creator of your life and you can rise above the chart instead of blaming the planets for your life. Oh, when is Saturn going to leave me alone? You know, well, when you quit looking at it as the bad guy, honey, then there's a whole new dimension to your life.
Mm.
And so you let your story go and you do all the techniques, you know, and you notice it's still there.
Yeah.
And the reason it's there is because it deals with the mind and the ego, which don't want to let go. And at some point in your personal growth, you get that it's over. Why? Because you've made up your mind it's over. And there's nothing that can stop a made up mind. And that is when a lot of people say, you know, my birth chart isn't working the way it used to. And excuse me, I live in the deep South in the United States. So
Yeah, no
sometimes
problem.
I sound like, you know, no, it's not. The progressions are working. If you've had Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto cross your ascendant, you are not the same person you were years ago. And so we grow in a spiral. And when you make up your mind, it's your life, and you take it back, which is my technique. Of course, I call it take back your life. That is when you get instant karma. You know, when you come from your story, you say, maybe you're upset and you say, oh, I wish, and you say something that you wish upon someone. There is a lag between what you wish for and when it happens, or a job or more money, because the mind comes in. However, when the mind is stilled and you come from your heart, you're in tune with God. There's no blockage. And that's when you got to really watch out about what you say, because it happens like that. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I have a secret project with somebody else. I will talk about that off camera.
Okay, my dear, I'm interested in knowing it, because I feel like when I talk to you, we're talking on a certain level, and I wish that I knew what the questions were in your audience, because I'd love to answer them. But it's always a joy to talk to you.
So I pulled up my birth chart. Could you give us a practical hint how you would go about that? Using my birth
Absolutely.
chart? Yeah?
Now, you showed me your birth chart once. I use equal houses.
Yeah.
You use the 24, you know, cusp chart that just drives me crazy. But I'll give you the information. And yeah,
Can you see it?
24 cusps. There we go. We've got the actual cusp and we've got the natural zodiac. So you're going to have to, I simplify everything. But well, let me first tell you about starting with the sun.
Yeah.
And just simplify it. The sun is the center of our life.
Mhm.
It is our ego. It is daddy. It's where daddy told us we're supposed to be central.
Mhm.
what to make the center of our life. And oh, I see the house numbers are directly below the house. That's good. Okay. So,
So I have Sun in Sagittarius, Moon in Libra.
okay, Sun and Sag, excellent. Okay, but you don't have the degrees of the planets listed here. But that's all right. That's all right. We'll just do house position because that's number one anyway in my book. So, Daddy's message is keep expanding your horizons. Make truth the center of your life. For goodness sake, Sagittarius is the sign of truth.
Mhm.
And so you are a woman of truth, and it is your father. Now you might say, well, no, it's God, but in
Yeah,
this,
the father figure.
exactly, the center of your life is truth. And I know that you have been an international traveler
Mhm.
for a good bit of your life, and you love it.
Yeah.
You love it. If somebody is telling you a lie, you're going to know it.
Mhm.
You're going to feel it. Now, you will exaggerate, of course, for fun.
Yeah,
Naturally,
sometimes exaggeration is good to bring a point across.
it sure is. It sure is. So the center of your life is expansion. Your principles, your concepts, your belief systems. But the catch 22 on that is that Daddy really wants you to have his beliefs, his philosophy of life.
Is that for any daddy or just mine? Any daddy.
Any daddy. No, I would never say this for just one person. This is universally so.
Mhm.
And that's is that a putty tat there? A cat?
Mhm.
You know how I love animals. Oh my word. How gorgeous.
The Russian blue.
Oh, well, there went the show. Beautiful. Beautiful. What did you say?
It's a Russian blue.
You know, I think you introduced me to your cat at
Yeah.
before. I have a cat here who's asleep. So I don't want to wake her.
Yeah. She
So
always
getting,
comes when I speak here. So,
well, of course, of course.
yeah.
So now, your aspect lines are very, very interesting to me. I was in the middle of talking about the sun. Now, of course, we're going to talk about your cat. Now, is Saturn conjunct your sun?
Mhm.
What do I see? Saturn is on the, oh, it's in 0. No, it's in 30 Capricorn, 29 Capricorn. No, Scorpio, excuse me.
Yeah. The Saturn is in the 8th house.
Okay. How close is it to the 9th cusp?
Very close.
And what degree is your sun?
That I don't know. I would say it's EV. It's.
Oh, wait a minute. See, those
Yeah,
little lines.
here you can see it.
Okay.
24 degrees, 1735
The sun?
is the sun. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I was looking. See, that's why
And
these.
Saturn is 17 degrees, 38, 39.
Okay, so there's no aspect between the two of them, thank God. The reason I'm asking, that's why these ones, that's why I use equal house system, because my mind is so simple. Okay, good, good. Now, you said that you had, of course, you have Moon in Libra in the 7th, correct?
Mhm.
Is it conjunct Jupiter?
Yes.
Now, Jupiter is supposedly the greater benefic, which I think it is.
Yeah.
However, it's also a lot of, which means it can be a lot of a good thing. And there is, if I'm reading this chart correctly, a square between, and you correct me if I'm wrong. No, not a square. Yes, a square between the moon and Venus, and between Jupiter and Venus. Without the degrees of the planets, I'm kind of lost. Do you have a square between them?
Jupiter and Venus.
Yes. What sign is Venus in, Aquarius or Capricorn?
Where are you? Here, Capricorn.
Yes, but Venus is in your 11th house.
Oh no, sorry, 11. No, it's in
Aquarius.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I'm trying to get the aspects between Venus and your moon Jupiter conjunction. But I'll start with the moon here. The moon represents mommy and mommy's message about where to look for your emotional security. And so her message is get married, get married, get married. Or there is a very deep emotional need for a one-on-one relationship. And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? And the answer is absolutely nothing. She showed you the importance, either verbally or non-verbally, by her presence or her absence, the importance of the one-on-one relationship and having, needing that one-on-one. So you do beautifully in the one-on-one. I mean, look at your interviews, they're one-on-one, right? Now with Jupiter, assuming, let's see, if this is going to really drive me nuts till I get to the bottom of it. If your moon is squared Venus, that's too much of a good thing, traditionally. And my feeling is, how could there be too much of a good thing? If one is good, two is better, for goodness sake. So Venus deals with sugar. It deals with love. It deals with all the beautiful things in life. And in the 11th house, of course, it is a true humanitarian. It's absolutely exquisite. So you'll overindulge. And I've seen so many people overindulge. And so what I say to everybody who overindulges is, if you overdo Monday, underdo Tuesday. Okay? Now, because the moon is in the 7th house, there's a little catch-22 on all of these messages. And that is, there is an emotional marriage to mommy, looking for the mother figure in relationships. And what I've seen is, if we want a mother figure in our relationships, but we don't get it, then we do the mothering. We become the mother, which means there can be an overdoing when it comes to your one-on-one relationships. You can spoil people rotten, in other words. Now, if the moon is trine Venus, totally different. There's harmony there. But mommy's message is, of course, get married, but the hidden message is, but you're married to me. Okay. And that is the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And so it's a very powerful placement. And with the moon conjunct Jupiter, it's an overdoing of that. And this is why, just because the planet is benefic, it doesn't mean it's not fattening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've seen.
I never really had a problem with overindulgence.
Well, this is great. I think it may very well be because you have a Saturn doing something, once again, without the degrees and signs. I'm just going to go by house placement. But that's, I think, Moon conjunct Jupiter is beautiful. And it brings a very strong desire for truth.
Mhm.
Very, with the tendency to exaggerate,
Yeah.
for fun, humor. It's the best medicine. Laughter is the best medicine. And love is the universal antidote. Well, there you go, Jupiter and Venus.
Mhm. Okay. So enough about me. Um, so when I talked to Jason Christoph, he told me that he uses the same techniques that program you for disaster and self-sabotage, but uses it to program people doing better. And
Awesome.
so I know, I understand when people say, no, I do not want any programming anymore, no more programming. I know where they come from. But at the same time, I think that it can be used for good.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree 100%, because only because we grow and we learn from it, if we open our eyes, just open our eyes and see, read books, understand that we're falling into the same trap, and let it be okay. Because as I said, once you make up your mind, it's a done deal. And then you rise above your chart in that way. Now, Saturn and Pluto, of course, are two of the programmers, so to speak, and they get a bad rap
Okay.
in astrology books. But I interpret them, I interpret everything on how you can change and improve and rise above your chart. And then you go out there and you're feeling really good, and somebody punches your button and you're back on your story. So you don't beat yourself up. You just say, oh, I've done it again. Now, I see what I did. I make up my mind. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And you say that as many times as you have to until you have a new neural pathway. We know, science has proven that we have neural pathways. Okay, you create a new one.
Yeah. And I guess it takes roughly about 2 to 3 weeks to implement a habit.
Oh, sweetheart,
And
longer than that, longer than
really,
that. Yep.
I thought that was, let's say you out of a sudden you start smoking cigarettes. You can rest assured after 2 to 3 weeks, it's a habit.
What I've seen is 2 to 3 weeks, you get it, you understand it. The eliminating it, God, I love your cat. The eliminating it or transforming it, that's different. And I'll tell you exactly what I do to help people let it go and make up their minds. I have a virtual full moon ceremony that I video once a month. And in it, I talk about left hand, right hand, left hand. You will stop doing something when you see that it is hurting you to continue it. If you're brain dead and your mind is, like lemmings to the sea, you're not going to change. You have to see how that is hurting you. And so, and this is a true story. I'm going to share this. So, as a perfect example, since you were so kind to put your own chart up there. I came into contact with a woman who is a healer, and she heals using love. And I was so impressed with her, I started weeping.
Mhm.
And so I was in a state, I put my hand on my heart. So I move into a state of deeper love. And I put out my right hand and said, Dear God, I mean, I went back to old time religion. Dear God, instead of spirit or source, I want so much to be able to heal the way she does, coming from love. And I was weeping at that time. And I put that here. And you have to really, really feel it and want it. It's not, oh, I want to raise at work. Well, ask for one, you know. Okay, so I put that in my right hand. In my left hand, I said, what's blocking me from that? And it was a microsecond, Judith. You haven't forgiven your mother. In another microsecond, I said, I love you, Mom, and I forgive you. It was over.
Mhm.
On that level. And there are levels, you know, I mean, that it'll keep surfacing because we don't know how many lifetimes we've been doing this thing with that person who is mother this time. And that was the reason I was able to let it go so clearly, was because it was blocking me from what my heart's desire. So I help people find what they really, 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 really want. And if you do, and you don't need me, anybody can do that, right hand, left hand. And you have to be in a state where you are absolutely emotionally clear on what you want. And here's another example that just cracked me up. I'll use my own story for this. This was a while ago. You know, with the economy being what it is worldwide, people have had money issues. And so in my right hand, I put, I want more money. Or I thought I wanted more money. And so I extended my hand, and all of a sudden, what landed in my right hand was peace. What I really, really wanted was to be peaceful, not just about money, but about life itself. And so there I was in a feeling of divine peace. And so when not money, but peace. So when I extended my left hand, I said, okay, God, please show me what's blocking me from peace. And you know what the answer was? Money. And I let it go. I toss it out to the universe, to the multiverse. So that technique works. And I'm thrilled to be able to share it with your audience because it works every time. And you can't it won't work if you say, I want him to be nice to me.
No, 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 no.
Well, why? What do you want from me? You're still looking outside of yourself at the created to give you what you want instead of God, the creator. So there you go.
Yeah, I also think that, you know, some terms that we use, like my better half or my other half, yeah, it implies that you are not enough. Without having a partner, you are not complete. Yeah, you are as sad as, and and I find that so dangerous, and it is so frustrating. So I would say even that wording, we should get rid of that. Nobody needs another person to make them complete. Yes, you can enjoy the relationship, of course, nothing wrong with that. And you can walk through thick and thin and come high water and what have you, but it never ever will another person complete you.
Yes. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, we're either both right or both wrong, and I think we're both right because you're looking to somebody else
Mhm.
instead of turning to God, which lives in you. And I have to tell you, recently, the clients who have come to me for readings have very prominent Venus in their birth chart in the first house or conjunct the sun. And the first thing I tell them is, you are so blessed because you have the ability to love yourself.
Mm.
And they do. They do. They exude that kind of love, that confidence, that joy, that happiness, pretty much all the time. And that's why other people want what they have. They don't know what it is, but they want it, unless they are so steeped in misery that they can't bear to be around love.
So I know that you are offering a session where that is titled "Take Back Your Life," because identifying the problem is a huge step, but that alone usually does not get rid of the problem. So what are you doing there?
Okay, I am taking my client step by step through every category that I think is important. And that is always subject to addition and change as I grow. First, I help them by helping them make a list of, well, first they look at the bad message that mommy gave them. And most people have forgotten that. I remembered my bad message very clearly, and I think it's because I had to do it, and I wanted to include it in the book. You can't be bad. You are God in an earthbound body, so that's a lie. I help them release the bad message and accept that they are good. They've always been good and always will be good. Then our mother is the one traditionally who gives us the bad message. She doesn't know she's doing it, so you have to forgive her. Then you make a list of everything you had to do to get good enough for your mother, because you want her to say, you're not bad, you're good. And she has no idea she's given you that message. So it's a lifelong thing. All right. And you boil it down to one sentence or a phrase that really describes your commitment to your mother about how to get good enough for her. And there's a simple technique, and I describe it in the book. And you think, why didn't I think of that one? And you release your commitment. Then you rewrite it. You rewrite it your way and accept that. So that's for mother. Then we do father. And we think like our mother, we act like our father. Family. Then in this book, I used a term, the group is called teams. And these are all family teams. Everything goes back to childhood, okay? So we have a family team, and I've changed that category to the tail that wags the dog.
Mhm.
Because this is Pluto. This is, or even siblings, or even the moon, mother. This is the person who makes the rules for your life and tells you what you can have or cannot have. And so these are the first 4 steps. Then, who were you married to as a child? There is an emotional marriage. Well, if you have your moon in the 7th house, there is an emotional marriage to mommy, which means you're going to turn to another person to complete you. Well, you don't do that anymore because you know better. You personally, Judith, which is fabulous. It says where you're at. So the tail that wags the dog, and they form their own club with whoever, maybe one child, and you're excluded. The next, excuse me, I'm back on the tail that wags the dog. Spouse. You can be married if you are emotionally married to somebody. It can be mother, father, whatever. But you can't really be, there's a distance there because you're already married in your head. Then we do our ego. Now the ego survives by getting us to play roles. And the world is who was it who said that?
Shakespeare, or the world's a stage.
Yes, and everyone in it, the actors, the players. And so, yeah, and what you do then is you make a whole list of the roles that you play, and I encourage people to laugh when they write those roles, because if you don't, you'll cry. So you got to laugh, because now the ego is transparent. It is showing its butt. After that, our family, children or child. Because when you have a child, that child becomes the center of your life, and it puts you in the role of surrogate parent, and you don't have a life. When you have a child, it's different. Now, there are some parents who are not actively involved in their child's lives. They're the ones who come to me for a Take Back Your Life session because they're so empty, devoid of parental love. So then I've added a category called culture. Your culture, we have cultures in every society. It can be your ethnic culture, your religious culture. In the United States, we had the Civil War. So it can be the South or the North. And this really determines a great deal your loyalty to a particular group. People have gone to war and died for that. And the final category is God. Now, I'm not talking about our adult concept of God.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking about old time religion. Thou shalt not. I will smite thee. And we've bought that and universally. And I remember one time when I was much younger thinking, well, if God loves me, why does he want to punish me and kill me? If it never made sense to me. So we let that go, and we rewrite these commitments and accept them.
Okay.
So that's how the session goes. It's a 3-hour session. I used to do it one category per week. It was very draining to me. I said, all right, we're doing it in one shot. And that's how I've been doing it. And it is life transforming. And it's not like taking a pill. You're not cured.
No. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to keep your eye on the words you use. Beautifully put, Judith. That is the truth. The words we use, the thoughts we think, we're smiling, saying nice things. And, inside we're saying just the opposite. Oh, I'd love to come to your party. Yeah. And you're thinking, oh, no way. That'll never happen. So does that explain?
Yeah. There are so many insane doctrines. For instance, this belief that after sinning 72 years here on this earth, then you're doomed to serve in hell forever and ever.
Oh, my word.
Honestly, if you as a mother, let's say, you punish your kid by putting the naked butt on the stove, you go to jail, rightfully so. Yeah? So,
yeah.
But that is how they imagine their God? Or that is disturbed. That is so disturbed.
It is so wrong. It's so messed up, which is why when the Course in Miracles came out back in 1976, I got a copy of it and carried it around with me. And The one thing that stood out, I'll never forget, of everything in that book was worship the true creator, not the created.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, our concept of God totally.
I mean, for 72 years sinning, eternity in hell, what nonsense is that?
Yes.
That is, mind control one-on-one. That
Yes. Yes.
I will whip you into submission, or otherwise you burn in hell forever. My goodness. Yeah, we have a lot of cleaning up to do. So when I sometimes many years ago, I guess I told you that I visited some Buddhist retreats that sometimes took 3 days. Yeah, and the teacher always said, you might have noticed that your life here feels a little bit lighter and easier here in this surrounding, and doing the puja, the meditations, and what have you. And then he said, and when it's over, darlings, then you can decide which problems you would like to take back home.
Oh, beautifully put.
And make them real again.
That says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why when we take these weekend seminars, we're high and we're, so happy, and it's so wonderful. Life is good. And then we go back home into the arena where the original problems began, or represent the original problems. And that is when we have to take what we've learned and apply it.
Yeah.
But what happens is that button gets punched. I've experienced it. That's why I can write about it and say, it's going to get punched. And that's when you make your decision.
So what changes, to wrap this up, what changes after the session? Do you have feedback from people? Of what did they say?
Yes. Oh, yes, they want more. And this is why in my new book, The First Sexual Imprinting, what I've said at the beginning of the book is you can take this method, Take Back Your Life, and plug it into any category, because that's when it gets deeper. When I write my book on money, women and money, I will plug Take Back Your Life into your commitments. They're commitments to your mother, father, family, tail that wags the dog, etc. To get even more information. And what happens is, the more awakened the person is, the angrier they get at these people. And that's when the most important thing, forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have to forgive those people, because you invited them to be in your movie. You've been with them time and time again in different lifetimes, depending on how you feel about timelines and reincarnation, because it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, and they are troubled people as well.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is it. And so many people say, well, how do you forgive someone who's a murderer? How do you whatever? You realize, and I think that this is an oversimplification, but as I shared earlier with you, when you realize that carrying that rage is killing you,
Mm-hmm.
it may be firing you up, but it's destroying your digestion, your heart, whatever, and it's keeping you from joy.
Yeah, and I think it is important to note here that forgiveness does not mean necessarily that you become good buddies
No.
with that person, but
Yep.
at some point you have to let go as you said, of that rage and not going over it time and again, and then you because yeah, it is destroying yourself.
Well, and the secret to that is that on some level you think they can change.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to change.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Oprah who said, well, many people have, but Oprah Winfrey said, when someone shows you how they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And so you have to accept the fact, and I've written about this in the new book, that they are the way they are, the way they are, and you accept them as they are and forgive them as they are for you. And then it's very important to forgive yourself.
Exactly. And that is sometimes the hardest part.
Said it, girlfriend.
Okay, Maxine, I guess I kept time spot on.
You did very well. You did very well. Thank you so much for bearing with all the typos in my book that slowed me down from getting a copy of it, and so that I could be on your show and talk with you again. You are a marvelous host, and I always enjoy our conversations.
Okay, I do too. So, Busy Bee, now you can go back and write the book. Uh, I will let you go. So that was it, guys. Night Flight for today with the wonderful Maxine Taylor. We see you all next time. And you can find, of course, her website and anything else in the description box. Until next time, bye-bye.